All right, good evening. I'd like to call the council meeting to order. First item would be adoption of the agenda.
So moved.
Session.
First and second on adoption. All those in favor? Motion is carried. It's our pleasure this evening to make a presentation to Matthew Leduc. As you may recall, we presented a number of awards under the Ray Crossley Youth Achievement category back in December. Matt was away, and he's returned from his ski season. So he's here this evening, and I'll ask Councillor Hugh McKinnon to make the introduction.
Yes, I'm very honored and pleased to be able to give out this Ray Crossley Town of Comox Youth Achievement Award to Matthew. Matthew attended Highland Secondary here in Comox and has been selected for the national ski cross team. It's an amazing story. He switched from downhill racing after an injury and has been ranked third in North America and won his first GMC Cup race in Banff this past year. I don't know his up-to-date results, but I know he competed and wasn't able to attend the initial presentations back in December. We are honored to have you as one of our first recipients for the Ray Crossley Town of Comox Youth Achievement Award. So I ask you to step forward and congratulate you on behalf of the town.
So with that, you get a plaque with your name on it and the town's in. And we're pleased to be able to give you this award. So I'll come around this side. If you want to say a few words, you can. It's a merit.
Really appreciate it. Definitely an honor to receive this award, and look forward to doing the town proud in the future.
How did your ski season go?
It went pretty well. I had some top 30 results, top 20 results this season. And then went and checked out the pre-Olympic event in Sochi, and then got a couple of injuries that kind of slowed me down at the end of the year. But
Good luck for the rest of the way. We'll be watching for you. Okay, cheers. All right. Thank you, Councillor McKinnon. We have a delegation this evening, which is Richard Clark on behalf of the Don to Don Housing Society. And Richard, if you can take the podium, you have 10 minutes for your presentation.
Great, thank you. Excuse me, I've got something in my throat this evening, so I'm fighting off a bit of a winter cold. So yes, my name is Richard Clark. I'm the current chair of Don to Don. I'm very pleased to have an opportunity to appear before council this evening. I have Judy Brooks with me, who is one of our board members as well. What we want to do is not ask the Comox Town Council for anything this evening. We just wanted to give you a bit of an update, provide some insight into who we are, what we do, and where we hope to go. And then answer any questions if time permits that you might have. So Don to Don was formed 5 years ago to help give light to the recommendations from the Mayor's Task Force on Homelessness. And we have a vision for the valley, and our vision is that this will be a community where everyone has a place to call home. We have a mission for ourselves, which is to advocate, initiate, collaborate, and support efforts to ensure the availability of housing and support programs for the homeless and those at risk of being homeless in the Comox Valley. So we've taken action primarily to provide transitional housing to those facing homelessness. Our approach is what's called a housing first approach. We believe the key steps to helping folks move on with their lives and find themselves at risk of homelessness is to have a home. It doesn't mean that other services should be delayed, but the focus should be on housing first as a priority. Secondly, we take what's called a low barrier approach whenever we can. By that we mean we accept clients as they are. We try to have a client-centered service, focus on empowering people to make their own choices and accepting them as they are with their problems. We've also been using the scattered housing model, utilizing accommodation available via the private market. Now this has been partly out of necessity, and partly because there are all sorts of personal and community benefits to a scattered housing approach, but it does not work for everyone. The private rental market has been very helpful, and we appreciate the cooperative relationships we enjoy with private property owners and rental property management firms. Without their participation, we could not do what we do. Over the past 4 years, we've assisted about 60 people. Now, you will, I'm sure, know that we were the successful applicants for the scattered housing funding made available by the Comox Valley Region District via VIHA, but out of our BC taxpayers' pockets. Our proposal was to house 18 people at a time over a 24-month period. So we took the funds that were available and said, let's stretch it over 24 months, which will hopefully give some more time to actually coming up with some more permanent solutions. Currently, we're assisting 21 people. We're accommodating 6 women, 4 children, and 11 men at the moment. Our average all-in annual cost to provide accommodation ranges from about $7,000 to $10,000 a year, depending on the kind of accommodation. We have been able to do what we have done with the ongoing support of generous, caring individuals, businesses, schools, faith groups, Rotary clubs, other service clubs, trade unions, and indeed a couple of foundations. We've also had the support and cooperation of local government, including support for our recreational programs, our community garden, and the upcoming Western Street Soccer Team Selection Tournament at the end of June. So what's next? Dawn to Dawn is one of several organizations trying to address homelessness in the valley. For our part, we need to secure permanent funding for what we do. Reliance on the generosity of individuals and others is not sustainable over the long term. We're very thankful for the CBRD contract, but it is short term. While we would like to end homelessness in the valley and go out of business, we know that this is going to take some time, so we are just now ourselves finalizing our next 5-year strategic plan. Among other things, we'd like to be able to double our capacity over that time to better meet the needs of our community. But for us and others to succeed in our collective efforts to end homelessness, we as an entire community need to address the dearth of affordable housing in the valley. For us to successfully assist our clients, not only do we need access to affordable transitional housing, we need affordable accommodation of all sorts across the continuum to meet their various permanent housing needs. We believe that we can, as a community, end homelessness in the valley, and that Dawn to Dawn can be part of the solution. But we and the other social agencies in the valley need the support and assistance of all levels of government. It is happening in other BC communities, and we need it to happen here. So we are very pleased to see some recent efforts beginning to emerge towards that goal, and which Dawn to Dawn will fully support. In closing, I couldn't miss this opportunity to thank Councillor Tom Grant for his vision, his determination, and his relentless efforts to end homelessness and help the homeless. And Mayor Paul Eyes, I want to thank you for your participation in what I hope was our first of many annual Troop Toss events at the Glacier Kings game earlier this winter. And to all of you, thank you for your time this evening, and I'd be pleased to try to answer any questions that you might have. So, thank you.
All right, thank you, Richard. Questions from members of council? Go ahead, Tom.
Richard, Dawn to Dawn spearheaded that study on, I don't know exactly what you called it. You know, I think you were given a grant by the Comox Valley Housing Task Force.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. When is that report going to be released to the
Where
public?
is that? Okay, so this is what's called the capacity project.
Yeah.
And four organizations came together: Dawn to Dawn, the Wachi Friendship Center, the Women's Transition Society, and A's Vancouver Island. And the object of the proposal was to look at how initially at least how these 4 agencies, and then hopefully others, could actually better link, better integrate, better use the support, the very limited support services we have to support our respective clients in the valley. So, for example, we have former clients of AIV Vancouver Island and the Women's Transition Center who have moved from their an emergency shelter situation to our shelter for the moment, and we're all trying to provide support. So the idea was to try to find out how can we do that better. So where we're at, it's kind of a 2-part process, Tom. The first part was to do a best practices review. So we've looked at We went back and looked at all the reports that had been written about the valley in the past, because we didn't want to repeat that. And we also went and looked at other communities, particularly in BC and Alberta, large and small, to see what are they doing, where are they succeeding. And that was kind of the first step. And then the second step is, okay, where are our gaps compared to those communities? And what are the kinds of things we might be able to do that they've done and working in those communities? So we've got the first part is done. And we just had, a couple of weeks ago, we brought a session together where we brought people from our boards, people from our staff together just to talk about what we found in the best practices report, begin to explore some ideas about how we might cooperate more. And then we'll go on to the second kind of report, and we may release the best practices report sooner, but the other report will be released by the end of the spring. And hopefully with a bit of an action plan around it. That's our hope.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, that was a long answer, but...
Barbara?
Yes, and thank you. Thank you for your presentation. I appreciate it. Dawn to Dawn, your main approach is to supplement rents. Is that?
Yeah, that's the vehicle we've been using. So most of our clients are people who have ended up on some kind of income assistance. And the amount that the province of BC and the province of BC is no different than other jurisdictions in Canada. The amount we give for shelter is just simply not sufficient. So that's what we've been doing. So we will rent a facility. We are the official tenant, as it were, so that we maintain a relationship with the landlord, and then we will subsidize that rent. So when Dawn to Dawn started, and my reason for getting involved in Dawn to Dawn was such very practical approaches to things. So what Dawn to Dawn had been doing, and we are still doing, was where we could is placing two people together. And so their income assistance, if that's what they were on, would almost cover the rent, and then we could cover utilities and other things. What we're doing with the CVRD grant is we wanted to be able to move beyond that, because pairing up any two people, and with his two brothers, two sisters, those aren't always easy, and so people who have additional problems, it's more difficult. So we wanted to be able to move to more single residence situations where people are living on their own. Not everybody wants to live on their own, but for some people it's better. So that means a bigger subsidy. So that's where the regional grant has really been very helpful. So we're beginning to move to that. So we've now got a mix. Some people are dual occupancy, and some people are single occupancy. One of our challenges in the valley is there is really no kind of mini housing available. So there are very few studio apartments available. There are many one-bedroom apartments available at the moment. The market's a bit soft, so there's lots of two bedrooms. So in some cases we're having to over-accommodate in order to accommodate people. That's what we're doing.
So when the regional district money runs out,
How much? Yeah,
you
the total all is sticking on. Yeah, so
you know,
we're trying to get
people-
ourselves positioned to be able to continue doing what we're doing. But at the same time, we really need to fill that next continuum. We need a place where people can move permanently and be there at an affordable level, and a level that they can cope with, particularly for those people who are unable to work. Some people will be able to work and are able to work, but some people aren't. So we need to find someplace where they can live on a permanent basis. And so that we can still provide that transition support in between.
And have you ever thought about the public housing side rather than going to the private sector?
As I said, we went to the private sector out of necessity, right? So yeah, there just isn't public housing available in the valley, unfortunately. And there isn't the spectrum of it, right? So whereas other communities are building it. So if I can use one example, I mean, I know you guys have busy lives, but in the Island News today, there was a report out in Nanaimo. The use of the emergency shelter in Nanaimo was down 38% this winter, and they attribute it to the fact that they opened their second low-barrier supported housing unit, 40 units, second unit, 40 units this winter, and they're working on a third. So they've taken the pressure off the emergency service by providing some low-cost permanent housing, right? So, that's the kind of thing I would argue that we need in the valley.
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah, one of the challenges certainly is in the Comox Valley is that traditionally there hasn't been an approach of speaking with one voice. The Don to Don group, of course, you mentioned working with Wache Friendship Transition Society. I'm assuming you're working with Salvation Army as well. And that would be critical before any funding comes from BC Housing, because as we all know, the local governments have a very limited role and certainly no budget for any of this. So, if BC Housing is going to provide funding, they're going to want to see a community that speaks with one voice. And we know that it's now clearly in the bailiwick of the city of Courtenay in terms of what may happen going forward. The regional district had made some efforts, as you know, on a shelter site, but going forward, and I suppose the city of Nanaimo is a pretty close example. If they can speak with one voice of that community, then they're going to have more success with BC Housing.
That's certainly true. So I mean, in terms of the social agencies, yes, if we can get to a point where we're, if everybody can focus on the outcome, right? What is it we're trying to achieve? Hopefully we can get there. I mean, the challenge is that everybody's resources are really thin on the ground, and so every organization is trying to make sure that they're doing the best job they can to serve their clients. But, and I agree, Mr. Mayor, with your comments, but there is a leadership role for municipal governments to at least play in terms of getting to those solutions, right? And there may be a role that can be played in terms of I don't know my way around the BC planning acts, but I mean, one of the challenges that Courtenay has faced is that when there have been a few initiatives in the private sector to come forward with some kind of I'll call it micro housing, but smaller housing units, and they run into difficulty. So there may be something that could be done to actually encourage that to happen, and that would, there's a big continuum of people that need lower cost housing, right? So it isn't just people who've ended up homeless and on the street, it's people who are been in danger of that happening to them, right? People end up homeless for all kinds of reasons, right? Including marital breakdowns and health breakdowns and those sorts of things, right? And there just isn't much of a supply. So anything that municipalities can do to encourage more of the rental market would be helpful as well.
Certainly our community plan that was adopted a year and a half ago has recognized those elements in terms of small lot subdivisions as well as secondary suites, which are now available through building permit processes only. So that hopefully provides some scope. Councillor Price and McKinnon.
Yes, and it's interesting your example of Nanaimo doing so well with public housing, and that's perhaps attributed to the fact they have a social planner, and is there to be able to leverage and bring people together. So that may be something that the regional district, even on a part-time basis, may be a saving factor here.
Yeah, it's certainly been an asset for Nanaimo to have a social planner. There's only so much volunteers can do, right?
That's right.
So sometimes it helps to have that.
Councillor McKinnon?
No, I don't have a question.
Okay, sorry. All right, well, thank you, Richard, for your
Okay,
comments.
thank you very much for your time, folks. Thank
Good
you.
luck with your
Thank
organization.
you.
And Judy. Your Worship, I just wanted to add that the Leducs have been acknowledged already, and they're not required to sit through a whole council. Have our permission to leave.
Thank you. All right, yes, moving on to more mundane matters here. Minutes of the council meeting of March 20th for approval.
Second.
On approval then, all those in favor? Motion is carried. Proceed to the manager report at page 11.
So moved.
Second on receipt then, all those in favor? Motion is carried. Just one correction there, that meeting with Minister Bennett did occur already, March 15th, that had occurred. And so there's no forthcoming meeting May 15th. Well, perhaps it might be, but it may not be the minister at the time. It's the day after the election. We did hear unofficially that the application is nearing approval. We're expecting, hopefully, in the very next week, even as soon as next week, cabinet approval, but we don't have final word on that yet. So the hope is that all the T's have been crossed, I's dotted, and from what I heard from our MLA, it sounds like it's imminent. So when we hear from on that for sure, we'll let you know.
No timeline.
When is the next cabinet meeting?
Well, if they have one, it'll be next week.
And that'll be the last one,
Yeah.
because in the middle of it dropped and they don't need it.
That's right. Now, I understand that it's approved, but for cabinet, so whether it's this cabinet or the next cabinet.
Okay, good, thank you. So we may hear something.
We might hear something as early as next week when we do our follow-up on tennis courts. So we're crossing our fingers, but it seems to have gone through all the regulatory procedures and no objections, and in fact, we had many letters of support for our applications. Hopefully, very soon we'll be able to take it off the national court. And then on to regional district minutes of meetings. We have both the hospital board and the solid waste management board of March 14th for receipt.
We'll receive.
Second.
On receipt now, all in favor? Motion's carried. Any issues arising, questions, comments? Seeing none. Just approving budgets as you go. I know you approved all your budgets towards the end of last month, so that's great. Okay, on to the next item, new business. Actually, we did discuss this earlier, so it's just an update on where we're at with the staff providing us input on purchase of carbon offsets for 2012 and 2013. Staff are looking for direction. Of course, there's been lots of reports recently. The Auditor General provided a report on a couple of the larger projects through Pacific Carbon Trust, and it's a bit of a hot topic these days as we move forward. So staff are still looking for direction on this. The budget amount is relatively small. It is something that staff could make a decision on and carry on under their authority, spending authority, but they certainly would like to hear from the council. Yes.
You know, I'm a little afraid of carbon offset purchases, to be honest with you, because of everything that's going on in the news. And, you know, this is our taxpayers' money that we're dealing with. And so, you know, and I don't think we have an opportunity to opt out of the Climate Action Charter. So my feeling is that we should go with 3 degrees, just the absolute, spend the least amount of money, of our taxpayers' money, that we can on this until these things are vetted a little more carefully and proven out. So I'm going to make a recommendation that we direct staff to go with 3 degrees.
Seconder for that?
I second that.
I think it's been 30 now. Okay, discussion. Councillor Fletcher.
Yeah, I would support that motion, and for a couple of reasons. One, the proposal that had a forestry component to it, I was not in favor of. What I really want to do our best at is ensuring that we are looking at projects that reduce greenhouse gases, and so by capturing the methane, this project does meet that. Of course, the Auditor General raises the issue of how do we know whether that project would have occurred with or without the offsets. But I found some comfort. There's page 29, where 3 degrees speaks to the fact that, and you know, you have to trust sometimes. They speak to the fact on page 29 that there was some risk to this project, but they did it with the comfort of knowing that the sale of carbon offsets would minimize their cash flow. Also, this project was not required by law or local mandates, so it was voluntarily done by the company. So in an ethical way, I support it. I say in the piece that it really does reduce some greenhouse gas reduction, I support it. And it's minimal financial impact to the town at this time. I think this is a rapidly changing world, and I think that was also why I was reluctant to do a 2-year commitment. I think we go forward with this minimal input this year and see what comes before us in the next year. Thank you.
All right. Councillor Price.
Yes, and I'll be supporting the motion too. I think at the moment it is rather an inexact science, and I think in the future we will see projects that we perhaps have more comfort level with, particularly local projects. I would definitely prefer to see that we could have Comox Valley-based projects. So over time that will evolve, but I think going for the lowest cost at the moment. And there was some talk, we have talked about using the rest of the money within the town to bring about some reductions. So I think that's certainly a good approach.
Yeah, in fact, I mentioned that second part to our administrator this afternoon. I saw where Mayor Franklin had commented on using some of these funds, rather than buying offsets, they were doing it more internally. Now they have pools and arenas that we don't, but and he'll look into some of those programs, because of course this is only going to catch us up to the end of this year, and then we'll be looking at it for 2014. So, yes, sir.
Saanich didn't buy into the climate action charter, but did they?
That I'm not sure of.
No, I think that's why they're able to spend the
Maybe.
money locally,
Maybe.
because they didn't sign on.
Yeah, that could be. Anyway, there's things we can look at for sure. All right, so it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Motion's carried. We'll give it the third degree. Okay, moving on to correspondence. Letter from the Francophone Youth Society event coordinator for receipt.
Motion to receive.
Second?
Receipt then, all in favor? Motion's carried. We'll probably get more information on this. There's an evening of May 16th and closing dinner. I think they're looking for sponsorship, but we're probably not doing that. That's not normally our custom. We sponsor other events that we run or are involved with, like Nautical Leagues and Filbert. Unless, of course, somebody wishes to do so, but I don't know if there's anything else to add. See you? That's Fletcher.
They mentioned a sponsorship package, but I was just wondering, perhaps their staff, that the rec center can support them with something, or...
Yeah, to the extent, I suppose, they need facilities. I'm not sure what they need, so. Do you have any idea, Chief?
No, we forward this on to the recreation director, and he has been in conversation with the school on a regular basis, working on other programming issues, so
Okay.
we'll raise this as
So,
well.
usual in-kind kind of support. Okay, nothing further than that. We'll move on to the next one. Letter from the Comox Valley Airport Commission and Chair Linda Prika, looking for input from the nominating entities on their consideration of amendment to the bylaws, which they requested us to consider. There is a full report, although I don't see it in here. It's on circulation. I haven't had a chance to look at it. But your comments, I guess, motion to receive the letter. Right?
Motion to receive.
Second.
On receipt, all those in favor? Motion's carried. Councillor Brown.
For the last few years, the Airport Commission has just, in a very backhanded way, they solicit us and ask us to put forward names, but usually it's just they want us to ratify a renomination of an old director. And I don't think that they've properly put their directorship out to the public. And I know that there was a huge backlash about the Airport Commission getting paid last time.
Right.
And, there's been a lot of hard work done at the Airport Commission by a lot of citizens in the town of Comox who did a lot of, or in the Comox Valley for that matter, who did a lot of heavy slugging to get that airport where it is today. And now the airport today is nothing but a big cash cow.
Yes.
And, and now these guys who have taken it over and have got this big cash cow coming, now they're asking to get paid. When the guys who really did all the hard work did that for nothing, and they did it for the love of the community. And I am totally against the Airport Commission paying their directors a nickel.
Okay. I did note recently they have advertised for members of the public for interest in vacancies that we can.
That doesn't mean they'll take anybody.
No, I'm just saying that they have reached out a little bit. Did anyone else have their hand up? Sorry, Councilor Fletcher.
Well, I did find the study that they referenced in this letter in our reading binders. I had a brief chance to read it. I did note that there are several other airport commissions that do pay their members. They certainly don't have elected representatives on the board. So I'm not really I agree with the past that those people have worked hard and they weren't paid, but moving forward, is it such a bad thing? I'm not sure. I can just see that there's organizations that do it, so I can only assume it's something that's accepted in this community, the airport commission. So, yeah, I don't really have a position either way, so I
Okay.
here.
Tom? go ahead.
You know, the citizens of the town of Comox are still paying back the citizens of the Comox Valley are still paying back a $4 million loan. And, you know, it's, I just don't think it's right for the airport commission to start paying themselves when all the citizens of the Comox Valley are, every month, they're still paying for that airport. And they're going to be paying for that. I think that was a 20-year loan, wasn't it? And, you know, they're going to be paying for that. So maybe when that loan is paid off, then those people can start asking for money. And they haven't proven to us that there's a shortage of volunteers in this community to sit on that board. And that you've got the same people, you know, who've been there for years and years and years, you know, including the chair right now. And I just don't think, and I know that the citizens of the Comox Valley don't like it, because there was a big uproar when they tried to do this, what was that, 4 years ago, 3 years ago, whenever they tried to do that. So I'd like to make a motion that we send them our feedback that includes that we don't think that they should be paid.
Is that your motion?
I'll second that.
Okay. So, a simple motion then that our council is of the opinion that directors should not be paid, other than, of course, what currently their out-of-pocket expenses.
Yes.
Okay. Would not be paid an honorarium or a stipend, if you will. All right, so that's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Yes.
And I think Councillor Grant made a good point, or several good points. People generally seem to really want to sit on that commission, and I have never got any sense that there's a difficulty recruiting community members
Right.
to be part of it. So I think unless it can be shown that it can't operate effectively without being paid,
Sure.
then I think if people are willing to volunteer their services, then that's wonderful.
Yeah, certainly the Valley is known for its volunteer ethic. Yeah. All right, so any further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor? Motion's carried. All right, keeping on the theme of the airport, the air show, letter from the wing commander on an update on where they're at with the
Motion to receive.
Second.
All those in favor? Motion's carried. As you see, they're dealing with some challenges in terms of Treasury Board requirements, as well as the recent U.S. budget, what do they call it? Sequestration? I think it's That's in the fiscal cliff. Sequestration. So they are still working on it, and that's all I've heard. Still scheduled for Saturday, August 17th. So things can be worked out. So just an update, and of course, I haven't heard anything as of April 1st, so we'll wait with bated breath. All right, reports from members of council. Start with Councillor Fletcher. You okay?
Okay, done. Since we last met, I attended the Comox Valley Economic Development Society, their open house where they unveiled their plan. It was very well attended, I have to say that, and good for them for presenting that. The following day, I attended the Social Planning Quality of Life, and again, they are starting to, again, refresh the Quality of Life report. It was an excellent presentation. I thought they really gave some insight into how they're going to look at this report. And I've told so many people since that day how much I valued the popsicle test, and the popsicle test being that a small child can easily walk from their home to the store to get a popsicle safely, comfortably, and walk. So it says a lot about a community, everything from planning to safety, commercial access. Following that, I attended the Philbert Leisure Park annual general meeting and got 3 new board members, and everything looks full steam ahead there. I attended a regional district board meeting last week, and of course the regional district special financial plan where we passed the budget. And that's my report.
All right, thank you, Councillor Tom.
Well, I too attended a regional district board meeting and the special meeting of the regional district where we adopted our 2013 financial plan. And I attended the Scrubs hockey game, and I bought a beautiful salmon burger off of Councillor Fletcher and stood on the bench with Mayor Ives. I should point out that our team was down 6-1 at the halfway mark of the game, and Paul feigned an injury and took off his equipment and gave it to his son, and his son quickly went out and scored 4 goals. His line mate scored 3 goals, and we tied the game up 9-all at the end of the game. So, well done, Mayor Ives.
Well, as I like to say, there's no I in team, but there is in quit. So. My son enjoyed the opportunity. I look good on the score sheet. Councillor McKinnon.
Yes, I had the honor of being acting mayor last month, and I cut the ribbon as acting mayor with hedge clippers at the Rotary auction, the condo kickoff, kicking off the Rotary online auction. Great organization doing great work. Attended the Comox Valley Economic Development open house at the Old House along with some other councillors. I was acting mayor at the RCMP student training, held every second year program hosted at HMCS Quadra. Attended a quality of life workshop at the Native Sons Hall for a community, 2 very interesting speakers there. Attended a Comox Valley social planning meeting yesterday, Councillor Price was there as well. And my last point is that as acting mayor, Your Worship, is there an electric car and a clothing allowance for acting mayors? I'm wondering if that's possible for next time.
That's for a new kilt? Or? Go ahead, Councillor.
And so I too attended the Social Planning Quality of Life Report kick-off event, and the North Island College nursing students organised the actual event and did an incredible job. It was just wonderful food, door prizes. I won a door prize, first time in my life. And yes, I think it's going to be a very good document. And I also attended the monthly meeting of the Social Planning Council and the first meeting of the Regional Roundtable on the Local Food System. And it was very well attended, and 3 subcommittees have been struck, 1 on education, 1 on communication, and 1 to do a food assessment, which many communities have done this, looking at what do you have within your community. And so I think it's definitely a good start, and seems like it will be there's enough energy to keep it going.
Great. I'll just report on most of what I did in March, because I missed the last council meeting. It goes way back to the Waterfront Hotel meeting. I did represent the town at the top 20 under 40 awards, which were well attended. Over two-thirds of the audience was actually from outside the Comox Valley, so a great event put together by Roger McKinnon and a group at the Old House. And hopefully that'll continue into the future. There was a mess dinner at the officers' mess. The Chief of Defence Staff, Tom Lawson, was the guest speaker, and a very engaging commander of the Armed Forces, and very interesting to meet him and see where the Armed Forces is going. I was a guest speaker at the Sunrise Rotary Club, Strathcona Sunrise, and also participated in some interviews dating back to middle of March for the Mayor's Cup hockey game, which was a different game. Sponsored, the beneficiary of that was Kidsport. $4,000 was raised. Sad to say, though, that Team Comox did lose this year. We were active at the trade deadline. We didn't get Luongo, but we have some future considerations. Hopefully that'll help for next year. I think I'm getting my son to show up. The federal gas tax announcement in Royston was, I attended that, a community leadership lunch at the Art Gallery for an innovative video skills training program. Went down to the Government House in Victoria to see Helen Boyd, RN, who was involved with the Caravan program, and she received one of 35 BC Community Achievement Awards, so I was pleased to be there to represent the town for that event, and Helen appreciated some local representation there, and she was overwhelmed by that award. I mentioned earlier the meeting with Minister Bill Bennett and our MLA Don McCray on the Northeast Woods. Attended a Chamber of Commerce lunch for their election directors. A literacy reading at Brooklyn School, read to grade 2-3 class. And also went down to Victoria for the Municipal Finance Authority Financial Forum. There was also a political panel there talking about the upcoming election. Photo op for the Rotary hockey game, the Rotary hockey game itself. Also, speaking of Rotary, I attended the Comox Rotary here last week to present on our strategic plan. I think it was well received. Tom was there, and others were there. Actually, there were 2 members of the Coordinating Council there as well. Rod and Keith Spink were in to see me about their house on Mazo. Some outstanding items there still to be dealt with. And Fred Bates, former Mayor Fred Bates, is still working on some regional, international twinning initiatives. Mayor Dave Fomos of Powell River was there as well. They're very keenly interested, so we'll see where that goes. And then late this afternoon at Casalona for their grand reopening. And other mayors were there as well as John Duncan. They did a nice job on enlarging their dining area as well as putting in a new skylight. So good to see that. It's a facility, it's been there for 17 years. The first phase of it, so it's done very well. All right, so no late items, any media questions at this time? No? No members of the public here, so a motion to adjourn would be in order. All in favor? Motion's carried. Meeting adjourned.